Welcome back to the Hit Home Podcast. I'm Natalie Hashka, city girl turned entrepreneur who turned a big dream and a bold house flip into a thriving real estate brand, hitting my first six figures in my 20s. This is where we get raw and real, because life, entrepreneurship, and unapologetic womanhood deserve nothing less. I'm navigating life as a strong, independent woman who refuses to shrink, settle, or conform. And if that's you too, then you're in the right place. From personal growth and pop culture to behind the scenes real estate truths, no topic is off limits. I'm so glad you're here. Get ready for unfiltered stories, big laughs, and connections that will seriously hit home. Let's dive in. What's up, guys? I'm back. Okay, so today we're talking about a few different things. We're going to talk about habit stacking. We're going to talk about discipline, and then some morning and evening routines. So I've been doing habit stacking for a really long time, and some of you might know what habit stacking is. Some of you might not know. So habit stacking is also known as piggybacking. People consider it different than multitasking, but it's a strategy where you add a new habit to an existing or established routine or habit already. It leverages the cue from a known habit to trigger the new one, as an example, making it easier to adopt the new behavior. So the approach simplifies habit formation by integrating new actions into familiar patterns. It's coupling two or more things together, similar to multitasking, but coupling something you love with something you'd rather not do or don't love doing so much. And that's what habit stacking is. When it comes to key concepts of habit stacking, identify a routine you already perform. Let's say in the morning you drink your coffee or brush your teeth, and you would add something to that as an example. And so every morning when you have your coffee, it would cue you to do the new habit and to form the new habit. You want to determine the new behavior that you want to introduce, such as stretching, reading, something like that. And then you want to link the habit to the existing one using a super simple formula. So it's when I do X, I will do Y. And that way you're also taking the thought process out of it. A lot of people too will do, when I get home from work, I am going to change into my workout clothes. And that's going to cue them to work out, right? So simple, but it just helps form a new habit or makes forming a new habit easier. So the established habit is acting as a cue. It's prompting the brain to initiate this new behavior, and it's piggybacking on an existing routine just to minimize that mental effort required to start a new habit. And I know statistically there has been the thought that it takes 28 days to establish a new habit. It's honestly just being consistent with it more than anything. And so this is why habit stacking really works to cue the brain. So regular execution of the new stacked habit strengthens the connection between the cue and the new behavior so that it can become long-term. That's the goal. So something that's always worked for me too is the whole idea of staying process focused and not being outcome focused. And I think that's important here when it comes to habit stacking. So focusing on the positive outcome of the new habit can further you to encourage the adoption of it and integrate it into your daily practice or daily life here. There's obviously benefits of habit stacking. So easier habit formation, it makes it simpler to integrate new habits into your daily life. Increase consistency with it. So it's reducing the chances of forgetting or skipping the new behavior. How many people are good for a week of doing something and then they fall off, right? It's reduced mental load. This one's big for me. Like anywhere that I can remove energy, effort, mental load is so important with having to make so many decisions every day. So it streamlines the process of habit formation for you to take the thought out of it. Potential for multiple changes, so you can stack multiple new habits onto existing routines. There's a lot of different things that I do day to day as far as my habits and my discipline go and my morning and nighttime routine. And if you listen to previous episodes of Hit Home, you'll know that I have shared a lot of my like golden nuggets over the seasons, and things that just have worked for me. They're tried, tested, and true, and I feel like they're really easy to do. Like I'm very, very structured and routine in general. I just feel like the majority of humans thrive off that, and I really try to remove the stress and thought out of like the mundane things, like the day-to-day tasks for me. So the first thing that I like to do as far as habit stacking goes and like my routine goes is walking. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I walk on my walking pad while I'm working, and I have a treadmill as well. But something else that I do that I feel like everyone could do, and it's habit stacking, it helps with getting your steps in, but I'm telling you, I just feel like it works better in general, is taking phone calls and walking, or responding to emails and walking. And yes, you can do it on a treadmill or a walking pad, but honestly, I like doing this like randomly. Like I like taking almost like laps around my main floor of the house. I mean, if anyone were to look in, I'd look fucking crazy because I look like a dog literally doing laps in my house. But I love getting up to take a call for work. They say that usually your call will have like more energy, you smile more, and it's usually like better received by the party on the other end. So I know in sales, they always say like, don't sit down and do your calls, always stand. I took it one step further and I walk and I call, or I walk and respond to my emails. So that's one of the things I do. I actually love in the morning getting on the treadmill and responding to like messages and emails and DMs. That's something I've done for years. I will also do like work while I have my red light mask on, or meditate. I will also like lay on my red light therapy mat and meditate, or like foam roll and watch Netflix. I'll listen to a podcast. So I kind of like set myself up for that, and that's my cue to do those few things at once. And it doesn't feel like overwhelming, which I love. It's just like doing a bunch of things that I like at once that are mindless. Oftentimes I'll have a podcast running in the background. I definitely have my faves. I also listen to every episode that drops of Hit Home, not gonna lie. And so I'll listen to an episode of a podcast while working out. Or my favorite is like while I do my hair and makeup in the morning, I listen to a podcast. And I also listen to podcasts while I'm working, or cooking, I should say. So working, doing my hair and makeup, and then cooking. And, I love it. It's relaxing, and I get to do a few things at once just to knock them off my list. Ready to make a move in the GTHA? Let's make it happen together. I'd love to help you find your perfect place. Not in the area, but still in Canada? No worries. I've got connections coast to coast. Send me a message and I'll point you in the right direction. And if you've been eyeing the things I share on Instagram, treat yourself. All the links to my Shop My page are waiting for you in the show notes below. Go take a peek and grab your faves. Happy shopping. So one of the nuggets I shared on a previous episode is walking 10 minutes after each meal. And this one's easy because when you eat, it'll cue you to walk. And for a lot of people, they can't always get like a 30-minute walk in, but the majority of people could walk for 10 minutes after each meal. And this is super amazing because it's been proven to help with like digestion. So this one I feel like the majority of people could benefit from. So super easy. Every time you eat a meal, just get up and time yourself, walk for 10 minutes. You don't need any equipment. You don't need to be anywhere special. You can do it in your house. You can do it outside. You can do it in a gym. It's just so easy and mindless to do. And at the end of the day, you've had a 30-minute walk, you know? So that's one of my favorites. Another one that's in the fitness industry. This is such an old school one. I did this one for years. So wild. But every time you brush your teeth or when you wake up, you do push-ups. And so that was my cue. It was like, wake up, get on the floor beside my bed and do push-ups. Or like brush my teeth, do my push-ups. Another way that I plan my day for my routine is breaking up my protein over 4 meals of the day. So, you know, I have openly talked about that I count macros and I'm on the higher end range of grams of protein per pound of body weight. And so what I do and what was suggested to me early on, and I would definitely suggest this to all of you listening, is however much protein you have to consume in a day, take that and divide it into 4 right from the jump. And then each meal, you know how many grams of protein you need to hit. So let's just say, for simple math purposes, you have 125 grams of protein for a woman and you eat 4 meals. Let's make it even easier than that. You're 100 grams of protein, which is super low for a woman, and you are going to divide that over 4 meals, then you're hitting 25 grams of protein per meal, and so on. And that way you're not playing like makeup at the end of the day. Because that's a lot of people's issue, is that they either don't track properly or they'll skip a meal and then they're making up for it at the end of the day, and then they don't actually hit their protein target for their goals. So whatever your protein target is, divide it into 4 and know from the get-go like what you have to hit at every meal. Something else that I do as far as my routine is my calendar. So absolutely everything is in my calendar. I reference it throughout the day. I look at it before I go to bed to see what I'm up against for the next day. And everything, small or large, is in my calendar. I, again, need to take like the thought process out of a lot of things for me. And so it doesn't matter if it's a reminder to take supplements, if it's a reminder to water my plants, you know, it could be work reminders. All of my appointments are obviously in my phone. Everything is color coded too. I have like a generic calendar, and then I have a home and a work calendar. So I just feel like keeping yourself as organized as possible is so, so important, especially when you have like a busy life or children and a family, things like that. I plan my macros for my day in advance. So that's something I have done for a very long time, planning ahead with all of my meals, and the classic, you know, fail to plan, plan to fail. So I typically do this in advance for the entire week. There are times though where I go day to day if life is like really busy, and I will just like the night before plan for the next day, which is also fine. Regardless though, don't leave it until the last minute, right? Like try to plan your food at least 24 hours ahead of time, especially when you are trying to build muscle and things like that and you're using an app. So working out is pretty much how I start my day every day. Like moving my body is how I like to start my day. And, you know, that's a promise and a commitment that I have made to myself. I also feel like it sets the tone for the day for me. And when I have moved my body, I literally feel like I can take on the world. Like my day just runs so much smoother. And you know, there's a quote that I heard so many years ago. And it's the quote that says, you know, or the thought, that the belief of, you know, how you do one thing is how you do all things in life. And it's so true. You know, when I start analyzing and dissecting my life, you know, if you're someone who starts projects and never finishes it, that probably is a theme throughout your entire life. In all things, you know? And so it's something to kind of look at yourself, maybe reflect a little bit on and analyze yourself on this one. But it's so important for me how I start my day. I know a lot of people say that they can't work out in the mornings or their schedule doesn't allow for it for, whether it's kids or work. Whatever time works for you or wherever in your day it works for you. I would just suggest that you carve some time out to move your body. There's so many benefits of it, and carve some time out where you can habit stack, because maybe when you're working out or going for a walk, you can habit stack and couple that with something else. And that time can be for you and for your own enjoyment, right? It's that self-love and self-care time. And I know for me, that's the one part of my day that is fully mine. And I love it. I love spending it like that. I wouldn't trade it for anybody. And I schedule it into my calendar. And it's an appointment that I make and keep with myself. So, so important. Help us spread the love one home at a time. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and share the podcast. It means so much, and it might just make someone else's day. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you want to keep in touch, come say hi on Instagram @TheRealNat. My breakfast is something that I keep the same. And I know a lot of people are going to think wah, wah, that's so fucking boring. But again, it's taking one decision out of my life that I don't need to think about. I do love my breakfast. Sure, sometimes I do switch it up, but for the most part, I love it. I look forward to it every morning, and I just love that I don't have to think about it. So I just, pull all my things out, I weigh them on my scale, and I enjoy my breakfast. And as an entrepreneur, any decision I can remove for myself is the smartest thing that I can do. And what I do is simple, but it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? And, there's a lot of people that say that if you can make a quick decision, a lot of people who are effective leaders or who lead, that's the hallmark of that. They make decisions quick and they move forward. They don't teeter-totter back and forth, right? So I feel just simplifying your life and breaking it down to things like this, where it's your breakfast is the same every day and you just eat it. Because I can't tell you how many people sit there and even in my circle, will think about what they want to eat and what they feel like. It's crazy to me. So I feel these small little things just for routine allow for the mind capacity and the mind space for bigger decisions that require you to think and that need you to think about something serious, right? My wake up and sleep time. So these are pretty consistent. I try to keep them consistent for my sleep cycle, for my circadian rhythm. And for the most part, people only experience that Monday jet lag because they're on a different sleep schedule over the weekend versus during the week, right? Those people who work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, usually they're more structured during the week, and then on the weekend they enjoy a bit more. And so that's why Mondays typically feel hard for people. So those are pretty consistent for me, my wake up and my sleep time for going to bed. So my routine at night before bed. So I typically get a second walk in if I've had more of a sedentary day. So I try to aim between 10 to 13,000 steps for myself. And I drink a gallon of water a day. So I start that from first thing in the morning with my workout right up until I go to bed. I obviously hit my protein target. That's another thing I always kind of check where I'm at. Because I can plan my day sometimes, but sometimes my day doesn't go to plan. And so I always kind of check where I'm at my protein, just to make sure I'm on target, even though I have pre-planned. I do talk to my mom daily on the phone, sometimes a couple times. Obviously, I work out every day. I am moving my body, and that for me is in the morning. Unless I'm doing something special throughout the day, going to dance or Pilates, physio, things like that, then it could be in the afternoon or evening where I'll get a second workout in or something like that. I've been doing 2-a-days for for years, which it can be hard on the body, but I like breaking it up. And I know breaking up workouts stems from the bodybuilding world, just because they found years ago that splitting up specifically your cardio had a better effect on the body, like doing 2 30-minute walks versus like 1 60-minute walk. My red light therapy is something that I usually do at night as well, although I do it in the morning sometime. I love doing my red light therapy at night for 20 minutes. I just feel like it really calms me and it helps me sleep. Like sometimes I fall asleep with it on, and it's so nice. It's like warm, and I don't know, it's just like really soothing and calming for me. I take my supplements before I go to bed. There's ones that I take with my dinner, and then ones that I take right before bed. And then as far as like going to sleep, I do have my blue light glasses that I wear, and I do try to avoid my screen time before bed. I do put my phone on do not disturb as well, and like no TV or phone for typically 1 to 2 hours before I go to bed. I've got my skincare routine, which for the most part is pretty much the same. Like I'm cleansing, I'm removing my makeup with my micellar solution, and then I'm cleansing and toning. There's 2 serums I put on at night, a moisturizer, and then depending on where my skin is at, sometimes if I have a breakout, I have these like little pimple patches, or I'll dab on like this clay like pimple mask, and you can spot treat with it at night. And then I have my teeth routine. So my dental hygienist knows I'm obsessed with my teeth. So I brush, I've got a water pick flosser, and I have my mouthwash. And then I do wear a retainer when I go to bed because I have had braces. So it just keeps my teeth aligned and helps me with my grinding and things like that. So I've always said I'm not very pretty when I go to bed, but my whole routine makes me pretty when I wake up. That's the goal, obviously. But my days are super, super consistent and structured as far as like for what I do in the morning and for what I do at night. I'm like such a firm believer of like control the controllables. It allows me to tackle my day and use my brain power for like bigger decisions that come my way and require my full attention and focus as an entrepreneur, right? So as far as like tips for getting into habit stacking, starting new habits, for being disciplined and having like routines in place, I would say start small. I think like starting with anything small that are manageable, bite-sized, like little nuggets are the way to go. You know, when I think about losing weight as an example, I think one of the biggest reasons why people fail is because they try to do too many things at once. And I know that when I have helped people in the past and I've coached them, I've always suggested we start slow. And I know everybody just wants to like, you know, get off to the races and, you know, just go and get results. But like oftentimes I'll be like, do you even know what you're eating? Like, are you tracking your food? No. Okay, so we're not going to start dieting. Let's just start tracking your food in the app and let's see how much you're actually eating. You know, maybe the next week is, okay, let's start tracking your water. Let's see how much water you're drinking. And then let's get you up to the proper amount that you should be drinking, you know? The next week could be like tracking your steps. The next week could be like being consistent with your workouts. The next week could be making sure that you hit your protein target. And I know these things sound really boring, but the fact is if you tried to do all of that fucking shit at once, most people would be overwhelmed and would be like, forget this. This is way too much work. I'm going to carry those extra 10, 15, 20 pounds. It's not worth it. And they wouldn't continue. So I think it's really about starting small and seeing what truly is attainable for yourself, and then building on that is super important. And then obviously as you build and you stay consistent, these things become habits, and you don't have to cue yourself or remind yourself to continue with them. I would also say that it's probably a good idea to like be specific. So like clearly define the cue and the new habit that you want so that you can remind yourself. And like that might be putting it into your calendar. That might be like leaving a sticky note out so that you know if you don't remember. But definitely clearly define the cue. Like I said, if it's like brushing my teeth and doing push-ups, or, going to do emails while I'm on the treadmill, because you have to do your emails and you want to get some extra steps in. So like buddy those two things up, right? Also, like tracking your progress and monitoring your progress to stay motivated is a big one too, right? So, catch yourself if you're falling behind and pat yourself on the back when you're doing a good job. But tracking your progress is huge. And again, if I relate it back to like the fitness industry, like everything is tracked and measured for me, but it's just used for data. That's all it is, right? It's not there to be hard on myself. It's just used to look at data and to look back. And then the last one I would say is like adapt as needed. So adjusting your strategy or technique as necessary, because sometimes things will work and sometimes things won't. And I think figuring out what works for you and what works against you is really important. You might find that you have to switch some of these things up, or you might find the time of the day doesn't work, or you might find that some of these are easier to incorporate than others. But, I would say adjust as you go and figure out the deterrents or the things that are throwing you off if you're not successful in creating these new habits through habit stacking. So hopefully this kind of explained to people a little bit more what habit stacking is. I know this has been a game changer for me in my personal life. Hopefully some of these little nuggets and tips will work well for you and you can try some of them out. But I think this is like a really easy way to introduce or to cue something new into your schedule. And for me, like I said, like just being as structured and routined and disciplined as I can allows for the brain power for other areas of my life, right? And although I am super structured and routine, like I allow for flexibility. It's not the end of the world if something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to during the day, or if I don't get something in, whatever it is. I do try to be flexible because life happens and you do have to still live life. These just help, adopt new routines and new habits for yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself ultimately, right? So hopefully some of these nuggets are great takeaways from you. Let me know what works for you. And until next time, guys, see you soon. Bye. That's a wrap. Consider this episode officially tied with a bow. Thanks for hanging out today as we got real, raw, and unfiltered about life, womanhood, and everything in between. If this episode hit home for you, tap those stars, subscribe, and make sure you don't miss the next one. Remember, we're here for real conversations and raw connections. So don't stop here. Come find me on Instagram @TheRealNat and say, hey, loved this episode? Share it and tag me. I love seeing what resonates with you, and it helps me keep the free content coming. Until next time, on the podcast that always feels like home.